Hello, magic lovers. It's Tracy Partridge-Johnson back again for another reading from the Golden Telescope for you. I'm so sorry about yesterday, but I do wish you happy holidays. The holiday just kind of got away from me, and I did not read yesterday, as I promised you I would. So today I'm reading for Friday's reading. Anyhow, I'm reading, today I'll be reading at chapter 11, Arthur. We'll see how many chapters I get through today. But before I get started reading, I wanted to invite you to please take a moment to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and make sure you ring that little bell so that you get notifications every time I upload new content, which is normally Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I'll continue reading my books to you. This one is book 1 in the series, Jack and the Magic Hat Maker. And as you probably know, if you've watched my other videos, I've just published book 2, The Kidnapping King, both of which are available on Amazon.com in both Kindle, ebook, and paperback versions. And book 1, The Golden Telescope, is also available in hardcover. In fact, I just released, I don't think it's available on Amazon yet because it has to go through the distribution channel and everything, but I just barely published the hardcover for The Kidnapping King also. So The Kidnapping King just barely came out on November 13th. So I'm very excited about that. And this book, The Golden Telescope, was released last year in December, so it's been 1 year. Anyhow, I'll go ahead and get started with the reading, and I hope that you enjoy more of this story. I better put these on. All right, Arthur, Chapter 11, Dublin, Ireland, present day. Arthur stood gazing across the enormous room to the oversized office chair where he was used to seeing his master seated. It was not an easy thing to accept that Sir Edward was gone, despite the fact it had already been 2 years since the awful incident that dramatically altered the butler's life. Arthur loved the old mansion. He knew it had been entrusted to his care for upkeep, and he was honored to do it. But still, things just weren't the same without his old friend. The house was devoid of personality now, and with no master to serve, Arthur felt that his life had little meaning or purpose. Looking again to the clipping he held in his hands, he read the obituary. Sir Edward MacPaden, who has died, aged 82, was a grand milliner and courtier. He became the royal family's private hat maker in 1967, and though he officially retired in 2004, he continued to serve in numerous capacities, retaining an office adjacent to Buckingham Palace until the end. MacPaden remained in good health until his death, walking in the procession of Knights and Dames Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order in his 70th year. He was deeply touched when the Queen appeared as a surprise guest at his 75th birthday party at Clontarf Castle Hotel. In 1952, he married Lydia O'Brien, daughter of General Liam and Eileen Doyle O'Brien, with whom he had 1 son and 2 daughters. His son, Ross, and daughter-in-law, Faith, were tragically killed in an automobile accident 8 years before his passing. MacPaden is survived by his daughters, Inez and Clara, and 3 grandchildren. Arthur gently refolded the fragile newspaper section and carefully placed it back inside the clear plastic envelope where he kept it. Upon returning the page to the large walnut sideboard where it lived, he noticed the pair of wire-rimmed glasses he'd received by post 1 week following his master's disappearance. Lifting them lovingly, he caressed the initials that had been custom engraved on either side of the frames, E.M.P. Arthur deeply yearned for the days long past when he would walk into the library to see his old friend seated behind the desk at the far end of the room, wearing these spectacles as he worked. How he missed sitting together in the evening, sipping tea or brandy, and talking about the events of the day or world affairs. But all that ended right after he found Ethan. 2 years ago. The golden brooch Edward wore on the lapel of his paisley brocade jacket was unusual and one of a kind in design. Crafted in the 17th century by a master jewel maker, the pin was in the shape of a cavalier hat with a large ostrich feather plume etched into the surface. The pin featured a stunning 3-carat diamond set into the lower center where a person's head might reside. It was one of Sir Edward's signature wardrobe accessories. In these past 25 years, Arthur had never seen his master fully clothed without it. And in all that time, Arthur had only seen it light up on perhaps a handful of occasions. During these rare events, the pin would come to life with a warm amber glow that seemed to emanate from deep within the stone, indicating there was some urgent issue related to the hats that required Sir Edward's immediate attention. On one exceptionally memorable afternoon, Arthur watched as the stone lit up. However, unlike previous instances, this time it emitted a shrill shade of sapphire blue, almost audible in its intensity. The event set Sir Edward into a flurry of activity Arthur had not witnessed before or since. On that crisp autumn evening, he and his master had been sitting across from one another, a marble chessboard between them. Sir Edward was patiently awaiting Arthur's next move, when just as he placed his fingers on his queen to indicate checkmate, the diamond glaringly demanded their attention. Sir Edward jumped up, tipping over all the king's horses and all the king's men, in a move that assured the match was over. "Ethan!" Edward exclaimed. "Finally! It's time!" He looked up at Arthur, an enthusiastic gleam of excitement in his old hazel eyes. "I was beginning to think this day would never come." The expression of hope that brightened Sir Edward's face was one that Arthur had not seen for a very long time. "Come, quickly, to the locator," he said as he moved toward the library doors, a renewed sense of energy in his gait. Arthur obediently followed as they made their way out of the library and up the wide, open staircase to the upper levels of the mansion. Usually, Sir Edward would wait for Arthur to take his arm and assist him as he slowly, carefully made his way up the flight. But not today. Sir Edward climbed those stairs with exceptional speed, not stopping to remember that he usually required a companion. At the top of the staircase, having passed portraits of all the masters of the manor who came before him displayed prominently on the walls, Sir Edward turned to the right and walked several hundred feet before stopping in front of a beautiful, polished walnut door with an ornately engraved antique brass handle. Sir Edward removed a golden skeleton key from the pocket of his smoking jacket and inserted it into the keyhole beneath the knob. "Quickly now, quickly!" Edward exclaimed as he opened the door, revealing yet another, much smaller staircase leading up to a room in the house Arthur had never visited before. Sir Edward reached the top and paused, heaving and staggering and gasping for air. "Are you all right, sir?" Arthur asked, concerned. "Fine, I'm fine," Edward choked, supporting his weight on the banister before standing erect, taking a deep breath and moving on. The room beyond was large and mostly empty. except for an oversized globe set into a wooden stand that filled the center of the space. Above the globe was an enormous glass dome through which was an incredible display of stars in the midnight blue sky. "Shall I get the lights, sir?" he asked as he started for the switch on the wall. "No, Artie, no." Edward said it with unrelenting energy. "Arthur, come here to me," he said, softening his voice to an odd murmur. "Don't you understand? This is the moment I've been longing for, ever since Ross's death." Edward was standing over the huge globe, hands resting on the stand that supported it. "No, sir, I don't understand." Arthur was next to him now, gazing down at the globe. "This blue light, the sapphire glow on my brooch, alerts me to the fact that Ethan's powers have begun to show themselves. We now have the ability to track his energy, Arthur. We can finally locate my grandson. Look," Edward exclaimed, pointing to a small, bright blue light shining in the middle of the globe. "He appears to be in the Midwestern United States. We need coordinates." The butler watched with interest as his master pressed a round red button on the handrail of the stand, exposing a small computer screen depicting the globe. Hovering over the location with his finger, the monitor displayed the exact location: Salt Lake City, Utah. "That's your destination, my friend," Edward said. "My destination, sir?" Arthur inquired, watching his master with confusion and mild worry. Sir Edward turned to look at his butler, a twinkle in his eye. "I need you to go and retrieve my grandson for me." "Sir, this is indeed such an exciting development, but—" Arthur faced his master, struggling with the decision to follow his responsibilities or listen to his conscience. "I can't help feeling concerned for your safety." "I'm not worried about my safety, Artie. We knew this day was coming, and we need to prepare the next generation." Edward turned back to the shining blue light on the globe. "But, sir, your daughters, they warned you not to make contact." Arthur's voice betrayed him, cracking with emotion. "They threatened your life." Yes, I know. But I'm willing to take my chances. Trust me, I have covert methods of my own. I would not proceed without cautionary protections in place." Edward took his glasses off and wiped the moisture away that had accumulated on the sides of his nose. "Those children are our best hope, Artie, and they must be removed from the clutches of evil currently holding them hostage." Wiping his eyes, Arthur returned his focus to the current moment. If he had only known then the events that would transpire following that fateful night, he wasn't sure he would have been so quick to obey his dear master's instructions. Then, maybe Sir Edward would still be there at McPaden Manor with him. All right, we're at almost 14 minutes. I'll go ahead and read chapter 12, Introspection. Portland, Oregon, present day. Jack walked into the room and flopped down on his bed. Magical powers? He certainly didn't feel either magical or powerful at this moment. He felt weak, confused, and betrayed. And angry as all get out. Think. I need to think. He propped up the dingy white pillow next to the headboard and shoved it under his right elbow, resting his head on his open palm. "He said that he already knew something had happened to me before I told him." He replayed the conversation in his mind. And he knew because that ring on his hand lit up. So, where did the ring come from? He said they had known about these powers my entire life, that I come from a long line of magic workers. Does that mean Dad and Mom were magicians? The idea was insane to him, unthinkable. Evidence. I need evidence. I've never experienced anything remotely magical before. So why would I believe them without some kind of proof? He ran his left hand through the strands of chocolate brown hair hanging over his eyes and pushed them across the top of his head. Those rings. Ugh! He exploded out loud. It seems like more than a coincidence that the guy in that vision, the ship's captain, he was pretty sure that's who he was wearing a ring that was identical in every way to Uncle Earl's, except for the color of the stone in the middle. But the stone in the ring that the man on the ship wore wasn't glowing like Uncle Earl's now is. So what does that mean? That this guy was also magically connected to some other kid with magical powers? He was getting all wound up over this now. He bolted upright and swung his legs off the bed. That's gotta be what this means. So why did I see that ring? And why was I able to look out through his eyes? He wondered to himself. What else did I see that could be important? He strained to remember all the details in the scene. The slimy wooden deck I was standing on, the almost black ocean with choppy gray-white waves. The sky was all cloudy, and there was rain, maybe. I didn't see them directly, but I could tell that there were some big, dirty, tan-colored sails blowing in the wind above us. He stopped as he said the word. Us. There was someone else there with that guy, a woman. He sat forward, placing his hands on his knees and staring into nowhere. Who was she? He wondered, as he tried to recall more clearly her image in his mind. She had long, chestnut-colored hair that was partially put up on her head, with bangs in front and shiny curls hanging over both shoulders. She was wearing a charcoal gray cape that was tied up under her chin, and I could see some fancy golden fabric from the dress she wore underneath, almost sweeping the deck of the ship. He paused in reflection. And she turned and looked directly at me just before I dropped the telescope. Odd. He stood up and paced his dank room. So how does the telescope figure into the story? Earlier this morning, he had been convinced he was a medical emergency waiting to happen. Now, he groaned out loud, not sure which reality he would rather believe. The one that could end up with him spazzing on the floor at any moment, or the one that wasn't even possible. Bart. Maybe Bart can help me reason this whole thing out. Jack went to grab his phone on the nightstand, only to remember Bart would be in school. Crap. He reached into his jeans pocket and pulled out his cell anyway. Sliding his index finger across the screen, he located Bart's face and wrote a text. I have news. Weird, bad news. I need your help. Can we meet somewhere after school? Not here. I don't want to talk here. Almost immediately after pressing send, 3 little bouncing dots indicated Bart was already writing his response. Yeah, sure. You can come to my house, or we can go grab a drink downtown or something. How about we meet at Skidmore Fountain and walk the waterfront? What I have to tell you is too strange to risk someone, even your parents, overhearing, Jack replied. Okay, I can do that, came the response. 3:30 work for you? Bart suggested a moment later. Sounds great. I'll check TriMet, Jack responded. Switching apps, he searched for a train that could get him there on time. 30 minutes. Great. Now I have to tell Uncle Earl and Aunt Lizzie that I'm going out. I'll bet that goes over like a lead balloon. Bart responded with a laughing emoji, and Jack shoved his cell into his pocket. Grabbing his backpack, he stood there, in the middle of the room, trying to figure out what to say. Then, with a look of resolve, he turned abruptly to the door leading to the exterior staircase and assertively grasped the knob. I don't need their permission to make my choices, he muttered under his breath as he strode out the door, careful to close it ever so quietly behind him. And that's the end for today. We're at 21 minutes. And like I said before, I like to keep these at about 20 minutes so that I don't go on too long for you guys. On Monday, I will be reading again. This time it will be Chapter 13, Waterfront Convo, which takes place in Portland, Oregon, present day. I hope that you will enjoy that. I hope that you will join me then, and that you're enjoying listening to my readings. If you are, I hope that you will subscribe to my channel, ding the little bell so that you get notifications every time I upload new content, and please do like my videos so that the YouTube algorithm shows my content to more people, so that I get more visibility, so that Jack can be shared with more people. Until next time, I hope that you have a fabulous weekend. Thanks so much again for listening in. This is Tracy Partridge-Johnson. I will talk to you soon. Take good care.